Then we talk about the future of a little bit. We would like a debate about the future of configuration management in Drupal, which I think is a very interesting topic. And then some more practical stuff, like what can I do with patterns right now? How can I do it? And the future work we're planning to carry out with patterns. We want to show us very quick demo, and then we'll have time for questions and answers. So, well, my colleague, Hao, is going to introduce you.
Thanks for David. I'm very like Spain. This is my first time to come here. And first of all, I want to introduce the project of Collective. It's a very big project of the seventh framework of European project. And this project is focused on the quality. So there's the first letter is a Q. So we know there's a lot of information right now in the internet, so we want to get the quality information. So if we know we watch on the video on the YouTube and everyone summed up, if there's a thousands people sum up one video, does that mean the video is meaningful? Perhaps, but I think there's more frequency our activity pattern is if one close friend recommend a video to you, that will be possibility that information is useful for you. Okay, now our project is focused on we to do something for information recommendation for peer-to-peer way. Okay, so now we take features of social networking to help people in scientific to do the sharing resources, because we know the internet, the focus on sharing information to each other, friends and colleagues and group members. Okay, now from the home video to scientific paper, we want to do both. So there's a subject to Q video and Q lective, Q science. But our project, my job is doing the Q science. So we want to do the rating procedure for the scientific area. And okay, I already told you that the QMedia and the QScience. QMedia is kind of sharing the video peer-to-peer. And the QScience is the distributed platform for scientists, allowing them to locate for the new community and the quality reviewing mechanisms. Okay, now we talk about the science today. Science is kind of like become more complex through a lot of field emerge together, like biology and informatics. We call the bioinformatics. So it's more and more interdisciplinary science come up, like economic and physics. We have a new field called econophysics. So also in science, combined with the internet technology, we find out there are three main parts. Is like Google Scholar. We have the trend discovery from the internet, and we collaborate each other. Like our project, we have UK's colleague and the ETH, University of Freiburg, University of Szeged. So we need to communicate with the colleagues through different country, different university. And another way is the index of scientific productivity. We know we find the paper, we find the information we want to rank. So that's why Google bomb up. There's page rank stuff. Okay, science also needs this one. Okay, now we find out at our research, we find out science today, we have several features. First of all, community. Because you know, why we collaborate with each other? Because we have same interest in the field. We may from different faculty, like David in sociology, simulation stuff, and I come from physics department, but I'm majoring in computer science PhD. And also information overload is a trend. Is everyone find out, okay, which information is useful? So we need to mining big data. And also in the interdisciplinary field, a lot of fields get together, and there's a lot of link to each other. So this build up a very big network for different fields. So we need to establish kind of network analysis. Okay, now we want to do more these three features together in one. How can we do that? There's a lot of software things get together to do things like a lot of societies to do the science together, like Community of the United States, American Computer Mechanism, and IEEE, they do things like specific field. And Q-Science is kind of like a platform to want to put three features like community, network, big data, mining together in one platform. So we adapt. Very excited platform is Drupal Open CMS. Is quite nice. So now we do some development on the forum. It's called Econophysics Forum. We use this. This is a whole developed by the based on the Drupal CMS. Now I want to introduce you this. This is for the interdisciplinary economic physics area and informatic. So we have some community like this: news, culture, future events, book review, latest blogs, and later on there's the latest paper, the user update. This is just our testing side. We have previous. Okay, now I want to show you this kind of mechanism, how to do this kind of interdisciplinary. The top value is our new mechanism to evaluate. The user can recommend the papers, but we can find this out. This means quality, reputation, and trust. It means we evaluate people download, upload activity, and from the important user or a new user, and we give a score to every paper. So we have this ranking, the paper ranking. So it means these papers, as our algorithm, is very important. And those most download and most votes depends on the collaborative filtering mechanism to rank the paper. By the way, for this forum, we have a reputation percentile for the users by month. It's kind of like in this month you have very quick, because this testing site release the July, so the admin have very quick reputation because they upload and download a lot of papers. And so we can say every user have this reputation. And if you find out which user is your interest, you can check out the reputation. And also in scientific, we focus. We are now more and more to want to collaborate people. In this kind of scientific forum, we have similar people in similar scientific background. So in this forum, you can find out the similar user. Maybe in the future, you can come with them to apply some project, European project, or natural foundation. So you can find them and communicate with them through this forum. So that's why we designed this kind of project, designed this forum. By the way, okay, for Q-Science is also distributed platform. It can be, we want to not just focus on the economic, physics, and informatics. We want all the scientists that can duplicate this kind of forum to help them to collaborate different fields, in the similar interest in one forum can do research. And for the Q-Science, we back to the Drupal, because we are in the DrupalCamp. So what's the contribution to the Drupal from our project? First of all is patterns, the configuration management. So that's our topic today. And the second of all is D2D, Drupal to Drupal. It means our forum, our platform can duplicate from one interdisciplinary field to another one. So this one will be released soon. And another one is the living science. It's also based on Drupal. It's search and visualization tools. It's more focused on the network. You can visualize who is collaborating with you, who is collaborate the user you're interested in. You can collaborate with them. So that's what I want to present this project. So leave the details to my colleague David. Thank you very much.
The opposite way, yeah. Come here. So, well, I would like to talk in more detail about patterns. So basically, when we are facing this problem, our question was, can we reuse and share the modules configuration? I think everyone as developers is something we really want. We don't want to configure things all the time, no? The main issue, from our point of view in the Drupal architecture, is that the configuration and the data are mixed in the database. And this is what we're trying to solve. We usually like to compare this with the DNA extraction. So basically, we can think of a Drupal site like a set of functionalities. And these functionalities is what we call the DNA. So we can extract this functionality, and we can share it with all Drupal sites around. That's more or less the idea. And this was the idea behind patterns. Basically, the idea is to bypass this bottleneck that is really, really boring of configuring things many times that are very simple, like, configuring blocks and these kind of things. And the thing that makes different with patterns is the approach, and I think it's an interesting approach. Basically, there are two main issues in the architecture. The first one is the components. The idea, I will explain now in more detail, but the idea is that we have like a software driver, that the same idea we have for the audio card, for instance, and this is going to connect. This is going to make a connection between the module itself and patterns module. And another big difference is the storage. Patterns store the configuration in files, and one really good thing is that it's the architecture is decoupled. It means we can use it in any language we want. So, well, basically we can think of a Drupal site like a set of modules with certain configuration, and we split them. So each Drupal module will have a component that will talk to this to patterns module. And basically what we do is we define a set of hooks that they will provide a point to access to pattern. I will show you later the workflow. And we can interact with patterns at different phases. And then we have a concept that we call actions. So basically, the configuration, we have 4 different actions we'll see now. And then when we are, let's say, making our module talk to patterns, we have to think about, okay, what create means, what modify means, what delete means. So this is more or less the basis architecture. So the trick in patterns is the Drupal form API. So basically, we have the patterns module. If I have to talk to the module, I will need to write a component. I will store or read the configuration from YAML, XML, or PHP arrays. But this is, again, I insist, is decoupled, so you can write your own parser. And then I will process all these values. That is the same values I usually do when I'm configuring manually. Put them in an array and call. Basically, the trick is the Drupal form submit function. That's all. And then the other big difference, as I was saying, is the configuration is stored in files. So there is not any dependency with any specific format. We have a hook that is called hook patterns parser. This is the documentation on how can I implement my own parser. Right now, we support YAML, which is like very easy to read and write human-readable data serialization format. I'll show you now an example. Then we support also XML, which is good for interoperability. And we support also PHP arrays, which is very good for performance, but for instance, it's not very good to write. No one wants to write on a PHP array. the patterns files have, they are divided in sections. In one hand, we have a set of metadata, like the author, the category, version, things like that. And then we have a set of subsections that is these actions we're talking about. I'll show you now one example. Well, I don't know if it's, but basically we have some metadata. This is, what it's doing is creating a vocabulary. Basically, the tags we have are the machine name we have in the form API. This is the configuration that I do usually manually. Then I modify that vocabulary, and then they are deleted. So, I mean, just with this, we're creating a vocabulary. And we can control version this, we can share it, we can even rate it in the future. This is mainly the idea. So, well, when we are presenting this proposal, the first question was, okay, but what's the difference between this and features, no, basically? So I wanted to give you some differences, first with the distribution and installation profile, and then with features plus strong arm. So, okay, so what's the difference with the installation profile, for instance? First of all, the granularity, because with patterns, you can split the configuration in very small pieces that can be reusable everywhere. Next one is simplicity. I think it's easier to write this YAML, which is also very human readable, than writing an installation profile. And also another difference is that you can use it in existing sites. And this is I think, the very interesting part. So, okay, what's the difference between patterns and features, or features plus stronger? We put them together because I think most of the people use them together. So, the first thing is the parody thing, the philosophy. I think features is use case oriented. Features is an awesome module, but it was developed to solve certain use case. And I think we are using features for configuration management, which is a different issue. So I found this blog post from Tom Friedhoff. I'll show you. It's a long post, but basically he said, okay, don't get me wrong, I love features module, but yeah, it's really been misused. I mean, it's not been used to create features. It's been used to manage configuration, and this is something I need in Drupal will need to solve in the future. Another difference is the storage. Features stores the configuration in Drupal modules, and patterns store them in files, which is something, we'll talk now about the configuration management initiative for Drupal 8, but it's something that we have in common with this initiative. Also the implementation. The features uses module-specific APIs, like Views API. And patterns can also use module-specific APIs, but our main aim is to use the form MPI. This is what I was talking about. No? The trick is all in this Drupal form submit. And of course, I mean, everything has advantages and disadvantages. A good advantage of this approach is that you get the validation for free. Because what we do is we are going to call automatically all the submit hooks. So that's for free. A disadvantage, of course, is in terms of performance. This is a little bit more slow when you're running the configuration itself. So, yeah, what we're going to, okay, what the future will be, you know? And you never know. I wanted to make this joke, but you never know. Maybe in 2012 we'll disappear and we don't have to worry about this anymore. No, I was kidding. No, the future is... Can you pause? The feature is a configuration management initiative. That was really, really good news. One of our colleagues was attending DrupalCon in Munich, and it was the first time we heard about. And configuration management is going to be in core, and I think this is a really, really, really good idea. So our aim was, okay, all these concepts we have developed for patterns, like the architecture, all these ideas, can they be useful somehow for Drupal 8? Or can it be thought as a proof of concept? So a couple of weeks ago, we received a message I'll tell you later, but we have a Drupal group for patterns, and we received a message that one guy, again, was comparing features with patterns. And he told us, I think patterns look more suited to the configuration management use case and source control than features, which is now being rewritten somehow. So what we would like to do somehow is, I mean, of course, patterns is not as mature, obviously, as features, but I think some of our ideas, they could be useful for the community in the future. So, Okay, so after all this presentation, then is, okay, but what can I do with patterns right now? So first of all, well, what we did, it was porting the module from Drupal 6 to Drupal 7. The code in Drupal 6, it was a bit spaghetti code, so now it's more modular. There are like 6, 7 submodules inside. Then we improved the user interface. We'll see it now. One of the things that people were asking in the DrupalCon in Munich, it was to have support with Drus. So we have now Drus support. We have an export API. I will give more details now about that. Then we have, this is, I think, is something very, very interesting, is the parser module, because something we have in patterns is that it's completely separated. This is something that, as far as I know, is being discussed right now in the configuration management initiative. Then we provide also simple tests, batteries, the syntax is now more powerful. There is a concept we are developing now that is patterns within patterns. This is include patterns. So right now we have components, this component concept, for almost all the core modules. This will take care of content types, fields, menus, blocks, content, users, vocabularies, etc. The first release candidate, it was launched on the 9th of September, it's 1 month ago. So for the moment, what we can do with patterns is we can write, we can reuse patterns that other people does. We can share our patterns. One of the things in the settings is that you can set an URL, and you can make some of your patterns public, available, and then people everywhere can use them. And then what we call make your module patterns ready. That basically is to make your module compatible with patterns. And that's something I would like to go very quickly now. So, okay, how can I make my module patterns ready? Basically, you have to implement a hook that, no surprises, is hook patterns. So basically, you have a function. This is the information. This is the actions you are going to use. This case, for instance, is a very, very simple module that connects to the Facebook API to show the Facebook lightbox. So in this case, is what I was talking before is, okay, what does it mean to create? Probably it doesn't make sense, but modify makes sense. So I just need to tell, okay, this is the block, sorry, the form ID that I'm going to use. And we'll go to this a little bit later. So can you open the diagram? I wanted to show you, I mean, this is a very big discussion, but just a little bit the workflow, that what happens when I run a pattern. I think it's in, yeah. No, this one, up, running pattern. Okay. Okay, so basically there are a set of phases. First, we prepare the data. Then we validate them. Then we have a chance to add, let's say, imagine that our functionality needs to call some other functions, these kind of things. Then we build the form, and then we execute it. Well, we get any extra params if it's necessary, and then we execute it, and then we clean up the data. So basically, the idea is that we provide. Can you pass the next one? No, the slide, yeah. We provide a hook for each of these phases, so as a developer, I can interact at any point with patterns. So we have a prepare, validate, callbacks, build, and can you pass to the next one? And then the next question is, okay, this is how my module can talk to patterns, but how can I make my settings automatically exportable? Well, in the hook patterns, you can declare a function that will gather all this data, and then we have to write that function. And of course, this can be very, very easy, like in this case of this module that is very simple, or it can be very, very complex, like, for instance, views. So I wanted to show you a very quick example about this. For instance, this is for content types. What we are saying here is, okay, when someone is trying to export patterns, we're going to call this function. And this function is very simple in this case. We're basically going through all the content types, put them in an array, and return them. That's all. What is the future work we're planning to do with patterns? Well, first of all, we want to improve the automatic extraction of configuration, which is a very, very critical point. We have some issues with some of the components still, like block, but we are progressing. So for the moment, if you use this automatic extraction, some of the patterns, they may require some minor corrections, probably. Then we are going to write components for all the QScience custom modules, like Drupal to Drupal or Visual Tool. Then we are planning to write components for the most important contrib modules, like views, rules, organic groups, contexts. We're working on the documentation as well. There's already like 30 pages at Drupal.org about patterns. We're working now, this will be published very soon, in a tour around the code of patterns, so you can understand step by step how does it work. And then we're planning also to create screencasts, more tutorials, etc., etc. And we are very, very open to ideas. This is a researching project. So for instance, in the last brainstorming it was like, okay, can we collect statistics about the patterns? Can we get something like what the most popular pattern is? Even more, can we do it in a peer-to-peer way? Can we use maybe this Drupal to Drupal module to do it? This is just an example, but we're very, very open, and please, all your ideas, suggestions, patches, everything you can contribute is very, very welcome. This is the group. It's called Patterns. Again, no surprises. And now, yeah, we would like to show you a very quick demo. 4 minutes. I can go to the second one. Yeah. So first, what we wanted to show you is, yeah, you can go to the home first. Sorry, but my laptop is a bit slow. So, okay, this is, for instance, a contributed module that calls the Facebook API. So this is a configuration. For instance, this module, they have like 4 typical configurations. So the old way to work, it was, okay, I go to the website, or I read the README, and then I apply all these changes manually. And what we can do with patterns is, as a developer, you can add those patterns even in a submodule, and they will be already here. This is Facebook Livebox, for instance. These are the most popular 4 configurations. And then you can just run one of them. No, this one I think is the same one. One with faces, for instance. Only faces, for instance. And then basically the idea is, yeah, to move from this manual, I have to go to the Drupal org, see what the values are, do it manually in the blog, to, okay, I can just do it. And also, we'll see now, but another idea is to export them and yeah, try to share them between everyone. So, running. Okay, so now if we go to the home, now it's another configuration. So this is a very simple example, but you can think of as many examples as you want, more complex, less. And the other feature will be export. Well, there are several. I wanted to show you the most important one. So this is, for instance, imagine, okay, I want to, well, the idea is that in the future, I will be able to just export everything to a pattern, and I can revert it and these kind of things. But for the moment, you can do it for some of the components. I mean, if you export a pattern completely, probably it's not going to work for the moment. So, all. The idea, for instance, is, okay, now my website is red. This is the most simple case. And then I export it. This is going to create, we can see the file, actually. That will be interesting. Can you go to, yeah, to edit? Go down. So this is a very basic example, but okay, this is the metadata from the person that has run it, and this is the action itself. So if I go now and change the color, for instance, and then run it, it will work, hopefully. Okay, that's a little bit more pinky. and and I will go to patterns and run it, you will get the previous state. Sorry about my laptop, but well, while it gets executed, it's usually not so slow, but I'm having problems with the configuration of my Apache server. But basically, this is the main idea. In one hand, we can read and write files, and on the other hand, we can export them. At the moment, you will probably need, if it's a very complex one, you will need probably to revise it a little bit, and then you can share them. So. These are some links we wanted to share with you. This is the Collectives project, the main project. This is the main site. It's a European Union project. This is one of the deliverables from the project. That is the one that talks about patterns most. This is the Econophysics forum my colleague was talking about. And this is more about Drupal, the main page of patterns, the documentation. The documentation, you will see that there is one for Drupal 6 and one for Drupal 7. It's because the module was completely rewritten. So the group. So if, again, I encourage you, if you are interested, please let us know. And this is the configuration management initiative for Drupal 8. And that's all. Thank you very much. Gracias. So now you have any questions? Yes? Mm-hmm.
It doesn't export all of the values, for example, comment settings or just these little details. And when I import it then and I create the feature, so I have to still reset a few of these things. How is that working in practice?
We're working now on how to solve all these dependencies. And one concept that I think is very important we need to discuss is the idempotence of operations. Like, okay, what does it mean to run a create operation twice? Or maybe an operation should be executed. I mean, if I execute the same operation, then it's the same meaning. And this is also related with the dependencies as well, in the sense that we want to make as simple as possible. So for the moment, you probably have to take care. I mean, you probably, for instance, you will need to choose that content type and those fields, and that will create a pattern. The priorities work, but you will have to think about it manually. It's not automatically for the moment. So.
A big problem in features, or in Drupal in general, is that everything is sort of interconnected to each other, right? So
yeah.
A view that uses a content type, and a content type uses a view mode that uses an image field or something. So how do you deal with dependencies?
Yeah, this is, we're dealing with dependencies right now. That's it. Yeah.
Or a bad problem that we have in where everything is just, mixed up with each other.
Yeah.
So I don't really see the difference. But patterns is different here. I see it's useful for like simple form submissions.
Mm-hmm.
But I fail to see the use for like bigger dependency
Yeah.
things. The feature that has the concept of a module, which a module can depend on another module.
Yeah.
That's sort of a dependency management.
Yeah.
Very simple.
No, the main difference is in terms of architecture. I mean, what we want to contribute, especially, at least for the moment, is this idea of, okay, files, and also the way of implementing things, that it can be a different point of view. The problem of dependencies, for the moment, again, is something you have to think manually. And I think this is something, that also will need to solve in the configuration management initiative. But patterns does not offer a better solution for that, at least for the moment. Yeah, yeah.
It's a different representation of the data. It should be much faster as well because features
Yeah.
now is just a pain to run. It's so slow, and there's nothing else you can do in Drupal 7.
Yeah.
That's what we have
Yeah.
right now.
I agree that, I think we really need like a middle layer. That is, once we have that there, everything is gonna be much easier. But yeah, this dependency problem is something we will need to solve. Yeah. in general, like think about it. But I think what patterns makes different is the architecture. And I really think that having different approaches to the same problem, I think in general is a good idea. And I think we have to combine all of them. And at some point, I always say the same with computer science, that there's not something good or something bad. Usually the best solution is a hybrid, after all. So our aim is basically, maybe some of our ideas, they can be useful for the future, and we'll keep on working in Drupal 7, and hopefully we'll have more funding and these kind of things. We'll develop more things, and this is one of the problems we will be working on, for sure. But for the moment, you have to think about it manually. I mean, it's not... Yes?
One question related to this again. So components that you make for a content tag, for example, pattern, what is it? Is it a sub-module? And can you hook...
It's a sub-module.
Can you hook into the component? Or do you have to write
No, the component is usually a sub-module. It can be a module itself, but usually we define it. For instance, inside patterns, you have sub-modules with the components. Or for instance, in the contributed module, I define it as a sub-module as well. And then what you use is to make use of the hook that patterns provide you. So basically the idea is, for instance, imagine this prepare case is very easy, but imagine that you need to for instance, for nodes. Maybe you want to add a language because this is something that is not by default on that code. So then you put that value in the form. That's all. That's the idea. And also, for instance, vocabularies is a good example. We have two different ones, one for create terms and one for create vocabularies. And then you have, in the same component, you have to implement the hook. And depending on the case, you will have a different export function as well. I don't know if that's... we can take a look. If you are interested, maybe we can take a look to the code later, and I will be very pleased to show you. It's not very difficult, I mean, as a developer. But still, well, it's a researching project, so the demo, actually, I was doing it with a development version, so that was what I said, okay, because we're still trying some ideas, and, you know. But if you're interested, we can take a look later. I will be very happy. Any more questions?
Is there any kind of incompatibility between features and patterns?
Not at all.
Like maybe you, because you don't have support still to views, for example, like to have views with features and some configurations with patterns?
Yeah, that's the idea. That obviously our module is very, very young and it's not features, but you can combine them actually. And the idea is that maybe if the idea is interesting in the community, maybe it will grow. So you can use both of them. There is no incompatibility at all. The dependencies of patterns are token module, macro module for the export, automatic export. And then if you want libraries, if you want the fancy editor with colors and everything. If not, it works as well, but it's not so beautiful. Any?
We already based on the pattern to design the QScience sub-page like econo-physics. We may have for the main page of QScience. Maybe you can later on, maybe end of this year, you can log in the qscience.eu. You can see something new about this pattern development. That will be a good example to show how to make it right or stuff. Good example to get to know.
The idea is we will have a set of patterns, and then we will have different websites, like the one of econophysics, that they are not so similar, and that's the point with patterns, that I can use it with things that are very different, and then they will exchange information between them. That's the Drupal to Drupal module that I think is a very, very interesting idea as well. It's basically sharing certain information in a secure way between Drupal sites, like for instance these ratings. When I heard about it, that's very interesting.
Major use, because we also design some algorithm. It's already published in leading conference, so you can adapt the PHP version algorithm into your site. That will be great. It's a part of our project, so it's very welcome to use that.
So the idea is that in the future, different departments from several universities from different countries, they will have absolutely different Drupal configurations. They will share some of them through patterns. And then with Drupal to Drupal module, they will also exchange information like for statistics and ratings and things like that. That's like the big picture for QScience. Yeah.
Taken steps to collaborate with the configuration management initiative?
We have joined the group, and I'm starting to read everything, and I would talk to my teacher in case, because something I consider very interesting is if we could spend a little bit more time on that. But we have just started as well. Any more questions? Yes?
How do you deal with IDs?
Sorry?
You can export nodes and taxonomy there.
Yeah?
How do you deal with IDs?
IDs, for instance, this is one of the cases where you have, for instance, imagine that the ID, this is a good example of how to calculate it. So what I have to do is, okay, I'll calculate what is the latest node ID, and this is the one my pattern is going to use. That's the kind of things that when you're writing a component, you have to take into account. Any more questions? Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much for listening.